All right, hey everyone, it's Pastor Matt. This past Sunday we started a 3-week series in the book of Jonah. So Jason started that. He's going to carry us through. And this first message was all about that we are a lot like Jonah. We're more like Jonah than we think. And it also wraps into the Christmas thing, the Christmas story a little bit. But this whole series is really about how God pursues us, and then why, and then what he wants us to do in life, and our meaning of life, and our purpose, and all of that. So some kind of big topics in this little Old Testament book. Let's just jump into it. If you have a sermon discussion guide in front of you, an open tab and print it off copy like I have here, let's go through it. The Share Your Story section, those two questions are basically to help us have some empathy for Jonah. Right off the bat, Jonah suffered from stupid, and through these questions we see that, oh yeah, we kind of have done a lot of the same thing. We made decisions that we thought were great at the time, only to regret them as we learn from them or age or mature, and all of that. And so that's really what it's about. Warm up for that. And then Hear God's Story section. The first question out of those three is to read the whole of chapter 1. And so with this first one, hey, read the whole first chapter. It's only 17 verses. And then what just pops out at you kind of superficially or immediately? What comes to mind when you just read that whole chunk at once? And the second question, in those first 3 verses, we're going to go back to Jonah 1, verse 1 through 3. God says, hey, Jonah, do this. And Jonah says, nope. And because, he said no because he wanted the people who God wanted him to go and bring forgiveness to and bring God's message to. Jonah said, those are evil people. I really want them to suffer judgment because they are horrible people. And so he left. So what does this tell us about God? That he was pursuing even the worst people of that day. And how should that inform how we view our enemies today? So God saw these horrible people and he said, yeah, that's probably the worst people of the day in the whole world. That's who I want to go and show love and forgiveness to. Like what? I think that's really convicting for us, especially as we look around and we may have, our little pseudo-enemies or people we don't like and all this stuff. So it's a really convicting question. Number 3 there, we're taking a look at Jonah 1, 9 to 13 again. In this tough life situation, God calls Jonah back to him. How does God do that in our lives? So Jonah's running, and God uses a storm and a whole bunch of other stuff to bring Jonah back to him. And he does it a lot in our lives. So it's kind of a brainstorm session and kind of a reflecting question. And we move into create a new story section. Number 1 is the meat of the spiritual life. What's one area of your life that you sense God calling you to a greater surrender within and turn towards your Nineveh? So the place that God calls you to, we all kind of know where he wants us to go generally every day, and the kind of heart he wants us to embrace and the mindset and all this stuff. But then we all kind of know deep down what we really need to surrender to him, to really help give him as much of ourselves as we possibly can. So what is that surrender thing? And then number 2 is about, you're talking about surrender, so what does it look like in community? How can we do that? Not just like in our own personal devotions, but how can we encourage each other? What's some accountability? What's some spiritual practices? What's it actually look like to work on our individual surrender in the context of our life group and community? All right, so you flip it over to the Going Deeper section. This is a kind of a contemplation on God's providential care. And what that really means is that, God is so transcendent above his creation. He's like, there's space, time, and all this stuff, and he's outside of it. Yeah, but at the same time, when you read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, and even you look around today, he is very immanent as well as transcendent. He is in his creation. He is active. He is involved constantly. He never left. He doesn't leave. And we see that in Jonah as well. And so we're going to be looking at that theme of providence, God's care and kind of intimate dealings in a relationship with all of creation. So you're going to read the rest of Jonah, read the last 3 chapters. Then there's an overview there, and then the 2 questions to discuss there at the end. How does contemplation on God's providence over our lives impact your desire to cultivate a deeper faith in him and his will? So in other words, what impact does that have on you? any? Does it help you with your faith? Does it help you with a different outlook? And then number 2 is, how does God's providence as seen in the book of Jonah give you hope? And so yeah, we're going to end the group on a high point, on a hopeful point. And yeah, it'll be a good series. Hope you guys enjoy it.